Just when and how did you get started in purebred dogs in the first place?
I originally had a number of different breeds, and I wasn't seriously interested. And then I went to the Detroit Kennel Club dog show, and it happened to be a day that they had a Springer specialty, and a very large one. And I was tremendously interested, and I spent the whole day there. And I ended I chose Springer Spaniels above everything else. And I spent a lot of time watching Springers. And I got through, and I thought I was thrilled to death with the dog that won. Of course, I knew nothing at all about it. And the dog that won happened to be a very great dog that is very influential in the breed, by the name of Ruffton Recorder, and he had just been imported by Fred Hunt. And I was so excited about it. He went best of breed, and I was terribly excited about it. And I went up immediately and asked Mr. Hunt if he would sell him. I didn't know who Mr. Hunt was, and Mr. Hunt didn't know who I was, and I didn't know anything about the dog game. But I asked to buy him, and of course he just laughed at me. He had the dog about, the dog was about 7 years old then. And then I said, well, I'll get a bitch and I'll breed to this dog. But he wouldn't do that either. He wouldn't promise to do it. And but he finally, I kept nagging at him, and he finally advised me how to go about it. And it was very good advice that he gave me. And I went to Billy Lang, who was one of the very top handlers at that time, and he had a bitch that he sold to me. All very, very lucky it was. And so I started out very well, accidentally, but very well.
Just, may I ask, what year was that?
It was in, I think, 1936. Oh, it was before then. No, I think it was 1936.
My gosh. The changes you've seen over the years.
Yes, I have. I've seen many, many, many changes. Some for the good, a lot of them for the good, but there are some for the bad, and of course we went through all kinds of struggles. But there certainly has been a tremendous change in the dog game.
Tell me about some of the better changes you've seen over the years that you think are positive.
I have to speak to you about my own breed. And I think that in my own breed, I can truthfully say that dogs today are much more uniform than they used to be. And I think that generally speaking, people are more seriously interested in good dogs. I think the fancy itself has Springer breeders today interested in breeding good dogs, as opposed to just breeding it to their next door neighbor's dog.
Do the Springers in the United States look anything like the Springers in England today?
Absolutely not. They don't look a thing like English Springers. They're so different that when I was in England, which was a long, long time ago, many, many years ago, but I happened I brought along several pictures because I was planning to visit Springer people all the way along, and I took pictures of Springers that I thought would impress them tremendously. Instead, they looked at them and they thought they were horrible. Just horrible.
Have you kept track of the number of champions you've finished over the years and the number of big winners that you've had?
I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. I've not kept track of how many exactly, although I have records that could show how many, and so on. And we've had some very wonderful dogs. They've been wonderful representatives of the breed, I feel. And they've done some top winning. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful life. I can't begin to tell you the joys of it all. And it's come to be such an important thing. And I can't begin to tell you what it means to me.
How many dogs did you usually keep in the kennel?
We try to keep nothing that we are not using. We try not to keep dead wood. Usually, if I had kept what I preferred to keep, it would be about 4 or 5 breedable bitches. That means that I will always have bitches that are not in season. They won't all be in season at the same time. I will have around 5 bitches that I can breed. And then we usually keep at least 3 stud dogs, usually 4. And of course we have some puppies. We don't count the puppies. They're the extras. We don't count those. We're allowed, when we tell the census people, we don't count the puppies.
I see. Well, you've, as you've said, done some incredible winning over the years. Do you keep track of the Quaker Oats Awards, for example?
I think it is 8. Is that right, Kelly?
I'm pretty sure.
I think it's 8 Quaker Oats Awards. And I've always been very proud of the Quaker Oats Awards. I feel that the Quaker Oats people have done a great service to the dog people. By the way the awards have been offered, and they've always been an incentive. You have something to work toward, and everyone does better with an incentive.
Well, of those big, great winners, who's your personal favorites?
Well, of course, Aristocrat. Aristocrat was my favorite, although I had one favorite before Aristocrat, and that was King Peter.
King Peter, now?
Yes. King Peter was undoubtedly not as good, but he was my personal dog that I dearly loved, and he was quite an important winner too, and he was a very good sire. I don't keep a dog if I don't think he's a good sire. I don't keep a dog in the kennel. And today we don't keep anything that we don't feel will be a good producer. We don't just keep them because they're sweet dogs. Because we couldn't in this locality, we couldn't keep more than we needed.
Well, if you're not careful, you wake up one day with a whole bunch of dogs.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so we've never done that. And I think it really is much better not to keep anything that you're not good. I try to make it a point that we don't keep a dog that we don't intend to use as a stud dog. If I don't feel that he's good enough to breed to myself, I don't want him.
Well, then you've kept fewer than 10 dogs.
That's right. That's right.
Most people who have done your kind of winning, I typically think, have a kennel full of 50 or 60.
No, we've never had a big kennel. It's always been on the small side. But we keep a dog if we think it's going to be a good one, then we keep it. And if we don't think it's going to be a good one, we don't. And it will be a fine dog for someone else. There's nothing wrong with it. But if we, after being given a certain length of time to feel that our judgment is good on the subject, we say, no, we'll sell this one, not to keep it.
Your percentages then must be just incredible.
You mean in the number of winning dogs?
Yes. Well, let me ask you this. How many litters would you have in a typical year?
I would say maybe as many as 5, about 5 litters a year.
Yeah, that's not many at all, considering the.
No.
The
We don't want a crowded kennel, for one thing. But for another thing, we don't want to keep anything that isn't worthwhile.
Is that the key to? I guess my point being that there's a lot of people out there who have actually bred 1 or 2 really great dogs, but you've just come up with them year after year after year. So what's the key? This small numbers and extremely selective breeding?
I think maybe breeding with a purpose.
A purpose? Now, what do you mean by that?
We try not to make a breeding unless we have a purpose in mind. If we want to improve something, all of the dogs are better today than we've ever had them before. And it's awfully hard sometimes to see faults in your own dogs. And you love the dogs, and so you think, well, oh, this is a beautiful dog. This is the most beautiful, beautiful dog. And but you know that the dog isn't 100% right, and you're always trying to improve. And I think that that's a very important thing, that you should always be trying to improve. The next litter is going to be better.
Kennel blindness has afflicted a lot of us, hasn't it?
It has. It's a terrible handicap. And of course you grow attached to certain dogs that you can't ever think of letting go. But I've had one very, very fortunate thing, and that is that my husband, being a veterinarian, he knows of wonderful places where people take good care of their dogs. And if I have an extra dog that I want to find a home for, he's very helpful about this.
Well,
Find good homes.
I dare say Sally Lynn has never had trouble placing puppies.
No, we never seem to have any trouble placing them. But we don't have too many to place.
Yeah.
We don't have a huge number of dogs to place. We just have, as I've given you, I think, a pretty fair account of how many dogs we keep.
Julia, who influenced you in the early days? You mentioned Fred Hunt and Billy Lang. Who else?
I think Fred Hunt was one of the biggest influences. He became a very good friend. And then there were other people who were influential. One of them, due to good, there isn't anything better than good competition. And I had a very close friend, Fred Jackson, who had Free Jack's kennels. Free Jack's Royal Salute, for instance. And, of course, he was a very intensive breeder. And we were not we were very close friends, but we were also sort of enemies as well as friends.
In a nice way, perhaps?
Well, we both liked to win, and the thing we wanted the most was to beat each other, and we did just that. But Fred was in the situation long before I was, so he didn't go out of his way to help me, but he did help me. And we liked the same thing, and we sort of bred for the same thing. And if we always put our breeding first.
Could you, for example, use each other's stud dogs?
We did, very, very much, and back and forth, because we both went to the same source. I met him the day that I met Fred Hunt, and so he knew that I was going to breed to Fred Hunt's dog.